Hello my Strong friends. In today's video I'm going to try to tackle a nutrition question in 5 minutes or less. Let's see if I can do it. I could make a video also, let me just say, this is called Why Diets Work. I could make a video that also says why diets don't work. Okay, so it's a long conversation, but today we're going to talk about specifically why they do work when they do work. So let's think about your friend on Facebook who like did Atkins or Weight Watchers or something and they had massive success with it. Do you know someone like that? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to explain why that worked for them and all the things to consider if you're thinking about trying their nutrition camp that they chose. So the main reason why diets work, the only reason why diets work, is that they elicit a caloric deficit. Diets specifically elicit a caloric deficit by some sort of strategic manipulation or lowering of food and calories. You're eating fewer calories than you're expending throughout the day, and when it comes to dieting, that has to do with food and what you're eating. So you're lowering the amount of food that you're eating. Every successful weight loss diet has this in common, a caloric deficit. Facts. There are some secondary reasons that I think are important to kind of touch on. When someone commits to a nutrition camp or a fad diet, they might be hyper motivated, aware of their intake and what they're putting into their body, more mindful in their choices, maybe more mindful in their choices on their plate, more mindful in their choices as to how they're moving their body throughout the day. So it's important to give some credit as to how committing to a nutrition camp can work for a lot of people because they're super motivated, maybe more so motivated than some of the nutrition tips that I'm gonna give you later in the video. Again though, those secondary reasons, that motivation is all just a factor contributing to caloric deficit. The point is you don't need a nutrition camp. Successful dieters are an awesome marketing tool for nutrition camps. A lot of times successful dieters will say, and this is probably true, that nutrition camp or that diet was the only thing that ever worked for them after years of trying everything else. And the reason that thing worked for them over everything else is probably it just happened to be something that they liked, that they could sustain, and that they were motivated at that time to do. For a lot of people, maybe it's just like a timing thing. It just works out to where you're at a place where you have the time to finally count macros, and other times in your life, you never really had the time to focus on nutrition in that way. It's important to keep those things in mind because it doesn't mean that just because your friend had a ton of success counting macros, doesn't mean that you should count macros, especially if you're someone who doesn't want that kind of structure to your plate every time you eat. The point of this video is to kind of address that diets and nutrition camps, just because they've worked for someone that you know or work for someone that you followed on Instagram, doesn't mean that it's gonna work for you. It's because we're all different, obviously. But long-term weight loss and all these fad diets have one thing in common, and that's a caloric deficit. So having a caloric deficit for a longer period of time and then, you know, making lifestyle changes so that you can maintain whatever energy balance you would like to maintain at the body weight that you would like to maintain is something that can be achieved with a fad diet, or it's something that can be achieved with very simple, unsexy sounding things. Things like eating more whole, minimally processed foods. Doesn't sound as cool as IFYM, I realize. Or you could do something as simple as swapping out your Coca-Cola for a Diet Coke, especially if you're someone who's drinking multiple Coca-Colas throughout the day or drinking multiple calorie-dense beverages throughout the day. That swap is not a nutrition camp, but it's something that could result in a lifestyle change that ends in long-term sustainable weight loss. Those fad diets and nutrition camps can work, but you don't need them to have long-term weight loss. The guidelines, the strict guidelines that they have may make you more motivated, may make you more focused. It might work for you, but you kind of have to evaluate whether or not a fad diet or nutrition camp is something that's going to be sustainable for you in the long term, or just consider like, okay, I'm going to try keto for 3 months. What am I going to do after that to make sure whatever weight I lose is something that I can maintain? Okay, I'm over 5 minutes. I realize there's so much that I could discuss in this video specifically. So continue in the comments below if you guys want to continue discussing. I'll try to answer whatever questions I can. Also, I'm coming out with a course called Macro Mastery. So if you are interested in learning more about counting macros, or if you're someone on the other end who does not want to count macros at all, I have another course called Habit Hacker. They're pretty much opposite things. I'll leave links down below so you guys can check them out. That's where you can really dive into this topic, and we have a long section on nutrition camps and tasks that help you put some of this into action or put some of this into reflection. Okay, it's almost gonna be a 7-minute video, so I will see you in the next one. Bye.